Welcome back, traders, to the ExpertTrader Podcast series hosted by ChartAddicts. We got a very special guest in the house today, Mr. Anthony Williams, goes by Anthony's World. Anthony, welcome to the ChartAddicts Podcast.
I love it. I love it. What's up?
I'm really excited to have you on. Anthony, for the very, very few people at home who don't know you, can you just introduce yourself? Tell them a little bit about you.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Anthony Williams. I guess people know me as Anthony's World because of Instagram. And I am a Forex trader mostly, serial entrepreneur more so, but I started in Forex and I got my start in it, and that's how people found me, and that's how I kind of just progressed, and that's how people, learned who I am. So, but I've been, trading for about 7 years, 8, a little longer than that now, actually.
All right, let's dive right into that. Anthony, how did you get your start in trading? What was your first experience like?
It's actually pretty funny. I went to high school with a kid in Texas, and he was doing something. He was an IML, and this was like before IML was IML. This is before everything. This is like when Chris Terry used to get on, and you don't realize how long ago that was. Before it was, I think this was even before it was an MLM company. So with that being said, he was referring people and he was killing it, and he just went and bought a Maserati at like 19, and I was like, oh shit, like, what are you doing? And he told me what he was doing. And then I got online and I deposited like $10 into like their little account thing, and I was hooked instantly. I was like 17.
What was your experience like with that $10? Like, did the $10 grow? Did you see your first profit?
Oh God, no. I think I took one trade and I made like 5 cents. So I lost 2 cents on the commission, but I was hooked. Oh man, I was hooked instantly.
All right, so walk us through your trading journey. So that's when you first started. When did you really start to take this thing seriously and start to see it as like an important thing in your life?
I mean, I always did. I always saw it as something that I needed and wanted, to do right from the get-go, because for me, it was, one of those things where I have always been an entrepreneur. I was the kid that sold candy bars at school, that went on the golf course and picked up golf balls and cleaned them up and then sold them back to the golfers. That was me. I was that kid. I've always been that entrepreneur. So, and then I dropped out of high school when I was 15, and I was like, I got to get something. I was like, something's got to work for me. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to make this work. And I owned 2 businesses at the time. Well, not really owned. I was like, there were small businesses, and I was like the top guy there at both of them. I helped with everything. So they ended up making me like part owner eventually. But at the time I wasn't. And I was cutting grass and tinting windows. My dad owned a window tinting business, and I was trading. I'd go home and trade. I'd hop on webinars with friends and hop on with people and IML and all that stuff. And so
what were you trading back then? When you first started, you were coming home, you were just getting on the charts with your friends. What instruments were you trading? What were you really doing? Did you have any idea what you were doing?
No, I literally just bought or sold whenever. And it was just fun. Like, I didn't care if I was losing money. It was just fun to be on there doing something like that, the possibility. So I remember I'd hop on and just pray that that something good would happen,
So, I mean, all the traders, they kind of see where you're at right now. They see the car collections, they see the private jets. And I guess what most people would probably be wondering is, when was that shift for you? What was that turning point for you to say, or not really to say, what was that turning point where trading started to take on a new life for you, where the numbers started to get significant, where it really just became a real?
Well, there's 2 different times in a trader's career that he really starts to learn. I stand firm to this is because for me, about 3 years in, I knew how to trade, but I wasn't emotionally there. I wasn't emotionally ready to become that successful trader. I could call trades all day long. I could do everything. I just couldn't win trades myself. I could call winning trades, but I'd get out of winners and hold my losers and stuff like that. And that was about 3 years in. And then I stuck to a $100 account, only traded a penny for an entire year. That's all I did, was traded one penny. And once I traded that penny, that account, I had significant growth by the end of the year. I had like 80, it was like between 83 and 88% over a year is what I made. And then I was like, damn. And then I put $1,000 in there and I upped my risk. And I realized, because what that year did for me is I realized I was an 80% trader, taking only 10 trades a month. And I had significant growth, risking. I mean, I only traded a penny the entire year. And then I put $1,000 in, and then I started going with it. And then I ended up losing that $1,000 because I got emotional. And by that time, what I had to do was I actually had to go back to working a job because I left all the businesses. I quit everything. I had enough saved. I was kind of like, I was kind of like living around, going to friends' house because by the time I was 17, I had my own place, but then I gave all that up for trading. I lost everything. I lost all my money, quit my jobs. I went full in because I thought I was ready. And then I had to go work a job, and I went and sold cars for 2 weeks. It's pretty crazy. I went and sold cars for 2 weeks. And in that 2 weeks, I think I made like $2,300.
Wow.
I took that money, put $1,300 in my bank account and $1,000 into a trading account. And I quit my job after 2 weeks. I said, I'm not coming back. I quit my job. I went and I turned that $1,000 account into like 14 grand in 1 week. And then I took out 4 grand and I put in my bank account, and then I started trading 10 grand. And from then on, I lowered my risk a lot, and I was making like 2 grand a week. And at the time, being 20, 21 years old, that's all I needed. I had enough money to pay for my house, I had enough money to pay for my one car, I had enough money to do everything that I wanted and live a pretty good life, and just kind of sit back and chill. And that's what I did. So it took me about 4 years and a lot of trial and error. And I remember telling myself, this is the last account that I blow. Like that $1,000. I was like, this is it.
So I guess the biggest question I have from what you just described was you said that you weren't emotionally there 100% when you were in the 3 years. And then that 1 year sort of was the turning point. What did that 1 year teach you about the emotions of trading that you stuck with you?
What really stuck with me was that money isn't real. I studied finance, and the one thing that really stuck with me and hit me was that money isn't real.
So what does that really mean?
Well, that's a whole different
because to a lot of people, you can understand how that doesn't make sense.
Oh, definitely.
Dictates their life,
Money does. Money dictates people's lives. And I understand that. And don't get me wrong, standing on this side of things now, it's a lot easier to say, I get it. I get it. But the one thing that I had to do was massively change my thinking and shift a way of life and convince myself of something. And for me, it was that money wasn't real. And what really hit home for me was that I'm taking something from my bank account that's digital numbers, putting it into a Forex broker that is more digital numbers, and then trading digital numbers to make more digital numbers. You know what I mean? And it's like all of a sudden it's like, shit, it's not real. And then when that clicked for me, it like just blink of an eye, I lost all emotional attachment to money. I lost it all.
At the point where you kind of had this realization moment, did you have your immediate needs taken care of? Like, were you already making decent enough money that you weren't worried about paying that car off, paying that house off, the immediate needs, so you can kind of see money that way? Or did that happen even before you had your needs taken care of?
It happened before I had my needs taken care of, because I went from being 17 years old, working managing 2 businesses, making 80 grand a year, 80 to 100 grand a year. At 17, 18 years old, that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? 18, 19, like that's what we were doing. I was tinting windows. I'd go tint windows and I'd get paid for 3 hours of work. I'd get paid $400. And that's pretty damn good. There's not a lot of people that wouldn't go work 3 hours to make $400. That's really good. And then, so with all that stuff, I had all that. I lost it all. My own decisions, I wouldn't change it, but I lost it all. And then the one thing I realized was that I was still okay. Even if there was some nights where I had to sleep in my car, which is fine, but I was still okay. I still had a place to lay my head. I still had food to eat. Like, I was always fine. I had friends. I had family. I was always good. And so I changed that thinking for me. And that was really one of the biggest things that just took place for me, was that I lost that attachment to money. And then when I did, I had no more fear of losing money.
So you're working young. You are basically managing 2 businesses yourself at 17 years old. You made $2,300 in commissions selling cars for 2 weeks. So you obviously got some kind of drive inside of you. Yeah. That's impressive. So what do you think sets you apart, and what do you think makes you so successful?
First off, I don't believe anything sets me apart. I think anyone can do it. I firmly believe that. I do think that for me, there is something inside of me that's maybe a little different than a lot of people, which is fine. But I also think that the years of what I've done has convinced me of that. I don't think I came out of the womb different. You know what I mean? I think the years that I put into myself made me different. I listened to one book for like 2 years straight, every single day, 6 hours long. And it's called The Magic of Believing. And I remember I had an apartment and I had a wall. It was a loft and it was just a giant wall. And it was a white wall. And I had a ladder. And I would literally, an hour a day, sit on top of this ladder and just write what I want on this wall. By the time I left, my entire apartment was just covered in writings all over the wall. Like, you walked in there, you thought I was a crazy man. And it was just writings. I want this. I want that. I'm going to be this. I'm going to do this. I am going to achieve all these things. So I think I just massively, changed my thinking and just shifted that way. And so I do believe, though, like, I've trained myself to be different. Like, I tell people all the time, like, money's not real. Like, and people laugh at me. And so, I think that is one thing that, like, I am not afraid to make an investment. I'm not afraid to lose everything. I'm genuinely not. I am not afraid. Even when it comes to trading, you asked me earlier, like, how do you lose 400 or 500 grand and not sweat it? Because I'm not afraid to make that investment. Granted, I do have that to lose. Sure. And maybe I shouldn't play as risky as I do sometimes. But at the same time, if I didn't play that risky now, then why did I even get here? Because I still play the same level of risk as when I had nothing. I still play the same level of risk.
You actually made the perfect segue. So we're about to shift into the trading, but spending 2 years on the same book kind of has me curious. So what was your biggest takeaway from that book? Reading the same book for 6 hours a day, every day, you're programming your mind to be successful. So what was that? Yeah. What was the takeaway from that book?
So I didn't read the book. I'm gonna make that clear. I didn't have the time to read it. I listened to it. By the time I woke up, and if I didn't finish it, I would fall asleep to it playing. And that book, just look it up. You just got to read it for yourself. It teaches you, like, everyone knows the law of attraction, right? But they don't understand the law of attraction. They think, oh, I can just say this and it'll constantly come, or whatever they want to say. And in reality, that's not the case at all. You can't just see this. Like, you have to convince yourself to believe in things. And that's why this book is so powerful. It's called The Magic of Believing. And it's talking about convincing yourself to believe. Like, you just have, like, there's a difference in affirmations and putting things into an existence and truly believing. Okay. I remember, like, vividly driving a 2001 Camry and getting in that car, driving through downtown Dallas, and driving past buildings say, I'm going to own that building. That's me while I'm driving a Ferrari. Like, I remember massively convincing myself, I swear I thought I was the hottest shit there was in the world. I really did. Like, I thought I was the coolest motherfucker there ever was to exist. But that's just because I just convinced myself of that. I would hop out of a Camry like it was a motherfucking Bugatti. Like, that was me. I was that guy. I would just hop out, be like, yeah, that's right, Bugatti, wearing thrift store clothes. But
That's the level of self-belief that it takes.
Yeah.
All right, I really want to transition into the trading. So if you guys are watching this, if you guys are not aware, Anthony was doing a personal challenge for himself, and it kind of got crazy on Instagram. Anthony, do you want to walk us through the flip challenge and sort of what happened there?
Yeah. So I was sitting here and I took off of trading for a while, focusing on, the algorithms and the ATM business and little other businesses. I'm building a bunch of platforms that I think could be really, really cool. Leverage is, obviously taken off and it's constantly growing. I'm making people money, helping people, but there's a bigger aspect to things. Like, I have a full app coming out that's free education. It's going to be in the app store. Like, there's just so much to it. So my mind just wasn't there for trading. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, I need to do something. And I kind of, over the last few months, went through a rut, not of trading bad, of it just not being fun.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of got boring to me. And I was like sitting here and I was like, I need to do something. I need to do something to spark it up. Like, it's like, cause I even stopped posting about trading because it wasn't fun. It wasn't getting fun. I need to spark something up. And every time I go through this probably about every few months, and I have to do something crazy, get my juices flowing, makes me feel good. You know what I mean? Get my adrenaline rushing. I love it when I see my screen flashing red because I'm so over leveraged. That shit just it gets me going.
So what brought you back out of the slump this last time? What was that thing that sort of brought you back into the game?
So I was sitting here and I think I was on a call with Q and we were FaceTiming each other. He was like, yeah. He was like, you need to get back into trading, man. He goes, you got to get back into it, man. You can't lose that skill set. And I was like, I know. And then not too long after that, he made like $1 million in the fucking month trading. And it kind of like I love it, dude. I love it, but it pisses me off a little bit because me and him have a forever competition of who's going to make the most money in one day. Like, me and him compete like no other business, like just nothing. We just compete. And he did that. And I was like, fuck, I got to do something wild. So I put 50 grand into an account and I was sitting there and I was like, fuck it. Let's see what I can do. I did the math and I placed 100 standards on GU. And I went into like 10 pips of drawdown. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to place another 100 standards. And I couldn't place 100 standards because of the margin. So it allowed me to place 50 standards. I placed 50 standards. I went into like 1 or 2 pips more drawdown, and then it tanked. It absolutely tanked. And I made 70 or $80,000 in that one night. And then I bought it and made another 20 grand. I ended up growing the account I made $98,000 on Thursday night to Friday morning. And then Sunday night to Monday, or over the weekend, I traded Ripple. And then I made before Monday hit, I was up to 287,000, I think. 287,000. And then there was this whole like Ripple thing that was supposed to happen. You know what I mean? So I was like, fuck it, let's do something crazy. I then I transferred majority of that profits out of that account into another account. And I got into Ripple Sunday night. I ended up placing 2,000 standards on Ripple, growing the account to $600,000 in a little under 24 hours, growing it to $600,000. I was like, this is all profit. and I was sitting here and I was like, I should probably withdraw some of this because I really wanted to buy a Bugatti. I was like, I really want to use this to buy. If I would have cashed out with $1 million, I would have bought a Bugatti for sure. But I ended up doing that, and then I took the account, and it was sitting there. I think I was in Ripple and I was hedged. So I had like 200 standards in sells and 200 standards in buys. And I was like negative 60, 70 grand. The only reason I hedged is because there was supposed to be that big spike up, that big pump. And I'm sitting there and I'm like with my friends and I'm like, I'm really thinking about risking it all on these buys, just seeing what the fuck will happen. Because if it would have gone from like, it was at like 58 cents or something like that. Mm-hmm. And if it would have gone from 58 cents to like 70 cents again, I would have walked away with the amount of standards I would have walked away with like 6 million in one day. And I just sitting here and I just like buy at 100 standards at a time. Just buy. Ended up to 3,000 standards and buys. And it goes and tanked, and my account just goes just drained, completely negative. And I like it just lost all the trades. I ended up with like $11,000 left in the account.
All right. So that was probably one of the wildest stories we've heard on this podcast.
It was crazy. It was fucking nuts.
We're going to get back to that story here in a second, but I'm going to put you on the hot seat. What was your biggest losing day in Forex so far, or just in trading in general?
Before yesterday. So I don't really count that as a loser just because it was fun and it took me like, dude, I took a $50,000 account to basically $900,000 in 4 days, 3 or 4 days. So it was like, I didn't lose any profits, like any of initial capital. I still have the $50,000 account. That's the account I just told you about making 50 grand on.
Okay.
So like I still have, like I even posted it like $287,000 or something like that. I have the screenshots. I'll post it later. So it was all profits that I lost. But my biggest losing day, in Forex or overall, I just investing in everything.
Let's do Forex first and then investing in general. Cause sounds like you got two good stories there.
So it was about $586,000 that I lost in one day. And actually Andy was there to witness that.
Okay. We're going to have to hear this story.
No, it was actually nothing crazy. I kind of same instance. I was sitting there and I was in trades and I was doing really good and I was just going. And I built this account from 100 grand to like 700 and something thousand over like 3 months. And I was using high risk, and Andy was in town and I drank too much. I got drunk and I was sitting there and I started placing 10 standards on US 30 left and right, just do. And motherfucking woke up the next morning and I was so hammered. I thought I was on because I didn't trade US 30 on that account because it was big. I don't trade US 30 on big accounts because I get ballsy with US 30. I'll do really good and then one trade. And I married the trade and I thought I was on a small account, not realizing it. And I woke up the next morning and I lost 500 and like, it was like all said and done, like 586,000 and some change.
So the majority of traders listening to this don't know what that feels like. Everybody knows what it feels like to take a significant loss that's sort of you just weren't expecting. So what's your process from bouncing back from a loss like that? And because I kind of want the folks at home to take some lessons away, like, okay, you blow your $5,000 account. It's not the end of the, like, listen to the Anthony story and just walk us through how you bounced back. What was your process?
You really want to know?
Hell yeah.
I bought the Pista the next day.
You bought the Ferrari after the loss?
I bought the Pista the next day.
Can you walk us through that? Can you walk us through that decision?
I was sitting there and I've been looking at this Ferrari for a while. Me and Q were talking about it and I was sitting here and it was just like one of those things. I was like, I gotta have this car. And he was like, I woke up the next morning, I was fucking hurting, hungover as fuck. And I was like, damn, something. And I've been looking at this one. They had just one at my buddy had one. And I was like sitting there and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm buying it. Walked in there, bought it, got it cleaned up, drove it for 5 minutes, turned around, put it in the shop and got it fixed. Andy was there.
So would you consider that kind of like retail therapy? Like
Oh fuck yeah. I'm a big retail therapy person. Like like yesterday, since I lost all that money, I'm buying a boat tomorrow. Like I'm buying a boat. Like we're going for the test ride tomorrow on it.
Okay,
I'm a big retail therapy person.
Okay, these are crazy stories, and I'm sure the people at home want to know more. But let's get back to trading, and I want to ask you about the EA. I want to ask you about leverage, how that started, and kind of how that's going. And if you guys don't know, leverage we're not talking about regular leverage. It's an application that Anthony developed as an automatic trader, and I'm going to let you describe it, Anthony.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of a funny story. Me and a good buddy of mine, we both started trading at the same time, and me and him really started trading right about the same time. And he came to me a while back and was like, "Hey man, I'm working on an EA," and I was like, "Oof, why are you working on an EA? Like, I don't like that, you know, like we trade, we don't use an EA because I've tried building EAs. They work for a while and everything like that. And, so he came to me and he was like, man, he's like, this is really good. And I was sitting there and I was like, dude, I don't believe it. You know what I mean? I was like, I need some data. He was like, do you trust me? And I was like, yeah. I gave him $5,000 within 24 hours. That account was gone. It was gone. And he was like, fuck. And he was like, all right. And so me and him just started working on it, you know, making changes, working together on it, getting this thing right. We put $5 more grand into it. I mean, this is after years of building, back testing, everything like that. This year, we had a version that we back tested for 4 years, not on your fucking strategy tester and MetaTrader 4, like actual data where we watched everything. You know what I mean? And if you use proper risk, you never experienced more than like 12% drawdown in 4 years. And it was making an average of like 18% a month, 18 to 23% a month.
Sheesh.
And I was like, fuck it. I put 10 grand, 1 grand, or no, 10 grand, 2 grand, 25 grand. And we let that run for about 4 months.
In different accounts or in the same account?
Different accounts.
Okay.
Different risk settings. And 10 grand, never saw more than 3% drawdown, but continuously made 15% a month.
Wow.
25 grand, never saw more than 1% drawdown, continuously made about 7-8% a month. Super low risk. And after about 4 or 5 months of that, I said, you know what, fuck it. And then we put 2 million in it. And right now we are up in 2 months. Well, a month and a half. The 15th will be 2 months on the big account. We are currently up 10% and never have seen more than 0.8% drawdown.
That's really, that's kind of crazy. If folks want to get involved with leverage and they actually want to get involved with the EA, how can they?
Just go to my website, leveragetrading.com, and it's spelled LVRG, not your typical leverage, lvrgtrading.com. And we built our own VPS system to make it super easy. And not to mention, here soon, we have a full functional app coming out with free education. We're going to allow people to call signals on it if they want to. So if anyone wants to call signals, they can call signals on it for people. People can subscribe to you via the app. And we also have a function where you can log into your MetaTrader on your phone. And when someone sends you a signal, all you have to do is click accept or reject, and it will automatically take that trade on your MT4 for you.
I'm absolutely blown away. I'm looking forward to getting that out. If you guys follow Anthony, I'm sure that he'll keep you up to date.
Definitely.
So we talked about some of the negatives, right? We talked about some of the lowest days. Let's turn this over to a positive note. What was your biggest trading day?
So that's an interesting question because my biggest trading day thus far, I have yet to break $1 million in one day. But I've had multiple three and $400,000 day, but my biggest day was it's hard for me to answer this question. The reason is not because of the money, because of I don't believe that flipping accounts should count as my biggest winning trading day. Because that's not how I really trade. You know what I mean? Like I have multiple accounts. I have accounts that I have an account that I live off of. It's my slow, steady. I risk 2.5%. It's a large account, but I risk 2.5% per trade. That's it. And I take no more than 10 trades a month. If I were to say that account right there, but I hold trades for weeks, sometimes days. I'm a swing trader. On that account, my biggest winning day is about 430,000. Now as far as flipping accounts, I have had a $730,000 day. But with that being said, I was also in drawdown of 300,000 at the time. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. You're comparing two different things. If you want me to flip an account, I can do that, but I'm going to risk it all. I might blow 3 accounts before I do that, but then I'll flip. You know what I mean? So I don't really count that as a biggest winning day. You know what I mean? Because
That's very fair.
I just don't, because that's not how I normally, it's not how I typically trade. I wouldn't say that. So,
all right. So this is a little bit, this conversation is getting a little bit high level, and our podcast is really aimed for the retail trader that's sitting at home, trying to figure this thing out. And so I kind of wanted to ask you for some tips for folks that are just starting out. What tips do you have for folks who are just starting out in their journey?
Yeah.
Things to focus on and things to stay away from.
Repetition is key. Look at the charts day in, day out. I believe that is key. Taking notes. I believe in a trading journal as well. I believe you should have a trading journal. And I don't believe that you should trade demo. I think a demo is one of the worst things you can do. What are a few tips? Consistency. And that's part of the repetition. But one thing that I did too is I would wake up and I would choose 4 pairs, and I have a journal where I wrote the opening price of New York session and the closing price on 4 pairs every day, Monday through Friday. I wrote that down. I always had that. I wrote it down, opening and closing. And then at the end of the week, I would go back and study. Okay, market opened here and then it closed here, or market opened here and it closed here. Why did it do that? So I believe a trading journal is very, very, very key. And then making it fun. Make it fun. Have a little enjoyment with it, because trading is not like, it's fun, but it's not. Like, it's kind of boring if you really think about it. Like, like what would I rather be doing right now? You know what I mean? Like, instead of trading, like there's a lot of things. I would rather drive NASCAR, or I'd rather, you know what I mean, go out. There's so many things I'd rather do. And just don't marry a trade. You know, the typical stuff. And it's true. I do hear it all the time, but it's true.
So if you were to go back and talk to the younger Anthony, what skills would you tell the younger Anthony to build to sort of help you in that journey, maybe make that journey shorter for you, or just, kind of help you along the way? What advice would you give your younger self?
I'm probably going to be a dick for this one. But I wouldn't give myself any advice. I wouldn't. 2 reasons. I wouldn't be where I'm at. I feel like asking myself that question, or asking me that question and going back and telling myself, is basically saying that I want something different than what I have now. I don't want anything different. I love my life. I've got, everything I could ever dream of. Beautiful kid, another one on the way. Like, my life is exactly what I envisioned it. So I wouldn't change what happened. And number two, when you asking that question or answering that question, it is it's not possible. So it's almost pointless.
Yeah,
You know
sure,
what I mean?
sure,
It
sure.
isn't possible. It's almost like it's not possible. So what's the point? You are where you are, and that's where you're at. And like so many people say, well, what if I did this or what if I did that? Well, you didn't. And no, and the other person didn't either. So focus on where you're at now. Live in the present, live in the moment, and grow with that. Don't try and change where you're at now. Try and change where you're going.
That's top tier. That's really top tier. So we just gave some tips to the folks that are just starting out. To somebody who's just starting to get some traction, that's just starting to see some profits in their account, what recommendations do you have for them for being responsible and kind of doing the right things with this Forex money?
I believe in withdrawing profits. One thing that I also goes back to the power of believing. If you, I have friends of mine that are learning how to trade and they're like, oh, I made $5,000 this week. And then they lose it the next week. And I'm like, why didn't you withdraw? Because I thought I could make $5,000 into $50,000 because I turned 500 into $5,000. And I was like, well, if you could do that, you would have done it. You didn't though. Withdraw your money, withdraw your profits, convince yourself it's real. You know how many people I've come in contact with and I will sit there and watch them trade and they're actually good traders. They are actually good traders, but they will win 7 trades in a row, lose 1 trade, lose all their profits. And I'm like, withdraw your profits. Convince yourself it's real. They will lose. They will make 7 trades, 8 trades in a row of 100 pips profit on each trade and then lose 100 pips and lose the entire account. And I'm like, come on, withdraw your profits. Convince yourself it's. I don't care. I firmly believe even if you have a losing week, withdraw $5. Withdraw $5. Withdraw if you have a winning week of $100, withdraw half of it. I don't care if it's only $50. See, the problem is that people with trading, and this is going to be some next level shit I'm about to say. People aren't living like it's their career. They're living like it's a hobby. People expect to lose money in this industry, and they shouldn't. They should expect to make money. If you have to convince yourself of that, withdraw money from the accounts. Take out $50. Go buy yourself something with that $50. I don't care if it's a hamburger. I don't care if it's a Red Bull. Like what? Just take that money out, have a separate account for it, live like you're making profits. You have to. People are expecting to lose money because everyone says, don't invest money you can't afford to lose. Nah, fuck that. Like there's a reason that 99% of traders fail. There's a reason because everyone's listening to what everyone else is telling them. Oh, don't invest more money than you can't afford to lose. Oh, when you invest that money, you should expect it to be gone. You're literally from the jump convincing yourself that you're going to fucking lose that money.
What is the biggest lie that you see being told to the new traders? What is the biggest misconception that you see, especially because in IG has kind of exacerbated this, where it's kind of just gotten worse. So what do you feel like is like the biggest misconception that traders today are living with? Is it that they intend to lose money? That they're kind of like
that is a big one. That is a very big one. This is goes into the point of the education side, and people teaching people how to trade. And for me, you mentioned earlier, I'm one of the only people that doesn't sell a course. And the reason is because number one, I don't want to be another course guy. Which, I mean, if you are, I've got a lot of friends, a lot of my friends in the industry, they teach people and help people how to make money. Q, Derek, you have Raul, Daniel Savage. They're all teaching people how to, make good money. And they're helping people. But there's this misconception that because someone else has something, you should have it, as well as if this person is successful this way and he teaches me, I should be successful that way. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
A lot of sense. That makes a lot
like
of sense.
People ask me all the time, well, if you don't teach, what education should I buy? I say all of them. And they're like, well, I don't want to learn, I just want to learn what to do. I want to make money. Buy all of them. Well, that's too expensive. Well, that's not my fault. Like, that's your problem. Like, that's not my problem. That's your problem. So what I mean by that is too many people are focused on what to do instead of what not to do.
Okay.
I believe that let's say we have Joe Schmo goes and buys a course and the course doesn't work out for him. Then he goes and buys another course and it doesn't work out for him. Then he goes and buys another course and that one works out. Well, it's because he learned what not to do. This didn't work for him. This didn't work for him, but this did. There's so many ways to make money in this market. It's easy. At the end of the day, you have a 50-50 shot. You buy or sell. You have a 50-50 shot of making money. It's better than a casino. Casino has a 49% odds. And here you have 50-50. You buy or sell. You want to test that out, open 5 accounts or 4 accounts on 2 of the accounts, have a 40 pip take profit, 20 pip stop losses, buy on one account, sell on the other account. You'll end up profiting. Every morning, New York messaging. You'll profit 25% of the account.
All right.
It's
folks,
true.
Folks at home listening, I don't care how many times you have to rewind it. If you got to go back and re-listen to that, very valuable information there. And it's going to stick with you guys if you rewind it a few times. Really crucial stuff. So we just gave some tips to the folks that are just starting out. We just gave to the folks that are in the middle of their journey. What advice would you give to folks that have already seen some success, but they're looking to level up? Because there's nobody that's sort of the symbol of leveling up in trading except for you and Q, sort of taking this thing to the max. So what's that advice for sort of breaking out of the current trading environment that we're in and sort of going to the next level?
Investing. I firmly believe investing in yourself, investing in other projects, investing in other companies. There's so many things that me and Q are invested in that people don't even know. like that we have so many other incomes. People ask me, well, how can you afford to lose $100,000? Because I have so many other investments. Like, I remember when me and Megan first started dating, and I was making like trading and other stuff like $10,000 a week, which is great money. That's great money. We were living off of $4,000 a month. People ask me, well, why were you doing that? Because I was investing. I was investing $30,000 a month into other things to allow myself to build other incomes. I was investing in, number 1, trust funds. Number 2, technology. Me and Q own a tech company together. We help people with technology. Like, people don't understand that. We have a full team of tech guys. Like, we have a full in-house app stuff. There's so much stuff that we have, like, that is so big, and that people don't even realize. Like, we're invested in restaurants. We're invested in ATMs. I have incomes from ATMs, incomes from, just invest, like just invest and stuff. My big investment was ATMs, but I invested in land. He invested in real estate. Like, there's so many things. He has so many other things other than just trading. But let's be real, trading is like the one thing, that people know us for, that's sexy and stuff like that. They don't want to see the returns of, when they see someone flip an account. To them, that's awesome. Not making an investment that's making you 38% a year.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that we invest in. Like, we have a full coders. We have a full in-house code team. Like, people just don't know this stuff, which is fine. But, we're just trying to help people and invest. I'm telling you, invest.
All right, guys, you heard it from the man himself. We're about to wrap up this interview, Anthony, but I just kind of want to keep it fun towards the very end. This is my favorite part because I don't have any supercars, but
they're coming though.
And I wanted your opinion on how you chose the car collection that you have. If you guys are not aware of Anthony's car collection, it's super, super impressive, really unique cars. So can you walk us through decision-making on how you picked those cars? Because you could have had anything you wanted. And that's kind of the big question is, when you can have whatever you want, how do you choose?
Yeah. And So I'll be honest with you, my first supercar was Q's McLaren. And that one was kind of, I not that I didn't choose it, but it was one of those things where he was gonna sell it and he was like, if you want it, he goes, it's a great fun car. I went down there, test drove it, and I was actually going to buy a Performante. I was like on the way to buy a Performante. He called me and he was like, hey, before you buy the Performante, I'm selling the 720 if you want it. And I was like, well, when are you selling it? He's like, in about a week. And I was like, cool, I'll be down there in a few days to test drive it. Flew down there, drove it around for a week, like a weekend. And then I'll be honest with you, I did not realize how fun those cars were until I got in that car. That is one of the funnest cars to drive, hands down.
The 720?
One of the absolute funnest cars there is to drive.
Wow.
And I was like, I gotta have this. So I got it from him, and it was my first supercar. So it's just staying, and you know what I mean? Everything is paid for. So it's just like, I was like, I'm never getting rid of it. Like, it's a fun car, man. It's fun.
And it's a sexy color too. So walk us through. I think 2020 was sort of like a groundbreaking year, because I feel like you were just getting cars left and right. So, walk us through the Pista decision, and then I don't even know what other cars you got, if you kind of want to share a little bit about those.
Yeah, so I bought the Pista after that big losing day because I mean, so whatever I want, I put as my screensaver, and I just look at it. And the Pista was my screensaver for a while. And so that one was like, okay, I need this. And then after that big losing day, I was like, man, that was rough. So I deserve this. So I went and bought that, and that was a fun experience. The Pista is it's so special. It's one of a kind Ferrari. It's so beautiful. It's just an absolute masterpiece. And then I bought a Eleanor, so a Shelby GT 500. So I have that too. And then, I mean, I have a lot of other cars, like cool cars. I have a G-Wagon. I have the new Escalade.
You guys see how he casually just threw in that he has a G-Wagon in there?
I mean, I have the G-Wagon. I have the brand new Escalade coming this month. I've got an Atlas. I don't know if you've seen my green Atlas. So I took a basic Volkswagen Atlas and lifted it, wheel spacers, tires, wrapped the whole thing, light bars, put a whole camper on top of it. I don't know, just took a Atlas and turned it into something you've never seen before. I have a F-250 as well. And then I had some other cars, but I gave them away. And then I have a F-550 that I turned into a livable camper.
Sheesh.
Yeah, it's like a completely livable camper, gutted the inside. It's got showers, solar panels, roof deck, kitchen, sink, countertops, bed, everything in it.
So it's like a road trip, kind of car?
Yeah, it's pretty badass. And then I just bought an 07 Dodge Ram because we were out on my land, and because I had a Jeep. I had the Jeep, and then Conrad, he kind of, he's the creative director. He kind of helps me like with the podcast, the YouTube, the editing, all that. He's a stud. Follow him on Instagram. He's killing it for me. Con.Pierce is his Instagram. But he's killing it. And he was like, man, this Jeep is my dream. And so he ended up buying it from me. And we were out on the land, and I was like, I want to go mud riding. So I went and bought an 07 lifted Dodge Ram to take mud riding. I absolutely destroyed it that day. And it was pretty rough.
Before we run out of time on the podcast talking about your car collection, because I didn't expect you to have this many cars.
I've got a lot.
Exclusive. Walk us through your next car idea. What is the next car that's on your wish list?
I have 3 right now that I'm looking for. I have more than that, but the top ones that are gonna make people go crazy is I want an SV, a Aventador SV. I found one, just waiting for the deal to go through. I'm buying a boat, and it's not any boat. It's fucking crazy ass boat. And then I really, 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 I'm trying to decide if I want a Koenigsegg or a Bugatti. One of those will be probably, if I don't buy the Aventador, it'll be sooner. But yeah. And then, I mean, there's a lot of other cars. Like I want an old 240. I'd love an old Chevelle, an old C10.
But you already got this whole thing mapped out. You
Oh
already
yeah,
got
dude.
your eyes
Oh
set
yeah.
on the target.
I want a Gallardo. I want a gated Gallardo. I want an R8. I want the new GTR. Like I'll get them all one day. I just need some time.
There's no doubt about that. I got one last question for you. What do you want your legacy to be in this space?
In the Forex space?
In the Forex space, in the public eye in general, what do you really want your legacy to be?
Yeah. So what I would really want is to be someone that changes people's mindset, that helps people with their mind. Because I believe if you can conquer your mind, you can conquer Forex. That's all trading is conquering your mind. And I always say that trading will make you feel the highest of highs, tear you down, crumble you, tear you into a million little pieces. And then the people that can rebuild themselves will become the greatest traders there is. And that's what it takes. You have to be torn down by Forex. And until that happens, you won't be successful in trading if you have to fight through that. So I just want to be the guy that, wasn't like everyone else, just helped people, stayed low key, but changed people's perspective.
What a way to end an amazing conversation. Anthony Williams, thank you for getting on the Chart Addicts podcast. We really appreciate you stopping by.
Of course, man. I appreciate you having me. It was a pleasure. It was fun. I love it.